to Murdoch's other titles, The Sun and The Sunday Times. Now, this is an exclusive piece of information revealed by The Guardian, who has, of course, done most of the digging on this, so it's them we should really be thanking for this being in the public eye at all. Their front page headline today, The Brown Files, How Murdoch Papers Targeted Ex-PM's Family. Now, the revelation here is that The Sun got hold of Gordon Brown's children's medical records when he was Chancellor. So you might remember he had a baby daughter who died in 2002 of a heart complaint, and The Sun did a front page splash revealing that she had that heart complaint and was going to die just a few weeks before she died at 2 weeks old in 2002. Quite how they got hold of those medical records, we don't know, but The Guardian says we can only assume they managed to bribe someone within the hospital to share them. And they also, in 2006, revealed that his then 4-month-old son, Fraser, was suffering from cystic fibrosis, which, according to The Guardian, was extremely distressing for Gordon and Sarah Brown at the time because they'd only just received the information themselves.
She's been
and were
tweeting
still
about that
struggling
today,
to digest it. Yes, exactly.
She's been tweeting saying how heartbroken she is, if indeed those allegations are true.
As one might assume it would be, really, if you just found out your son had cystic fibrosis and then saw it on the Sun front page. Now, The Guardian's editorial points out there's two really important things about this revelation. Firstly, that it spreads the amount of the papers who are in trouble for this beyond the now closed News of the World to The Sun, The Sunday Times and The Times itself, all of Murdoch's other newspapers in Britain. And also it puts the former News of the World and Sun editor Rebecca Brooks, who of course Rupert Murdoch has been doing everything to protect, directly in the firing line herself, because she apparently called Gordon Brown the night before The Sun ran that front page splash about his son having cystic fibrosis, warning him that they were going to run it, which means of course that she must have personally approved the obtaining that data and publishing it. We should point out that it is illegal in Britain to publish people's medical records regardless of how they were obtained. So this is quite clearly an illegal act that seems to have been carried out by The Sun, says The Guardian today.
Somehow don't think we've heard the end of that one.
It's going to run and run.
That's being picked up that's the story across the Channel, but across the Atlantic, the New York Times has managed to pick up on this story in quite a major way.
Yes, they're looking at the extent of corruption in the British police, which allowed Murdoch's newspapers to carry on publishing this kind of thing. They're looking particularly at the original investigation made into phone hacking in 2006, which you probably remember resulted in one News of the World reporter and one private investigator going to jail. And the police said at the time that they didn't believe anyone else was responsible for phone hacking. They were supposedly two rogue individuals, and they thought the scope of their hacking hadn't much stretched beyond a couple of members of the royal family and their staff. So the New York Times is asking why, now that it turns out thousands of people's phones were hacked, did the Metropolitan Police not broaden the scope of their inquiry at the time? And in fact, you might remember they refused lots of requests from people who thought their phones had been hacked to look into the case. Now, the New York Times points out that at the very least, they say the Metropolitan Police were trying to maintain good relations with News International. The police commissioner in charge of the inquiry was seen having dinner with News International executives in 2006 during that inquiry. And at the worst, they may have been trying to protect corrupt police officers.
So we've seen the News of the World being shut down already as a direct result of this scandal. Could it spread to other titles as well in the Murdoch empire?
Well, The Independent asks an interesting question actually today, saying that if closing the News of the World wasn't enough to stem the fire, might Murdoch sell off all of his British assets? They bear in mind, of course, that his British newspapers might be very politically important and prestigious, but they're not profitable. Newspapers lose money, and the vast majority of Murdoch's profits come from 20th Century Fox and Fox TV in the US, and to a lesser extent from cable TV in Italy and Germany. So apparently some of News Corp's shareholders and other executives within the company are saying, why doesn't he just sell off all of the newspapers? They say it's newspaper journalism that's in trouble here rather than News Corp, so he should just cut his losses and run.
All right, well, we'll continue to follow that one with considerable interest. Elena Casas, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick check of the top stories we're following here on France 24, and fury from Paris and Washington as French and American embassies come under attack in Damascus.